Hey, what's up, Roxstars? It's Rox with a little bit of talk about what's at the top of the blog. So let's get to it. All right, you guys. First story up, let's talk about Roe versus Wade, you guys. We've been knowing for some time now that it's been in danger. We've been knowing that the ultra-conservative, super to the right Supreme Court justices, the majority anyway, have been wanting to get at Roe versus Wade. And after a draft from one of the justices was leaked earlier this week, basically saying that they were going to overturn Roe versus Wade and they were going to return the power back over to the states, everybody has been in an uproar, as they should. This is the most dangerous time, I believe, especially for our young women, when we allow the government to make medical decisions, lifelong decisions, for a woman when it comes to raising a potentially unwanted child. Okay. We know that Roe versus Wade basically protects the rights of women to abortion. But in these last, I'd say probably in the last 5 years, we have been talking a lot about Roe versus Wade and the fact that the conservatives wanted to abolish the right. And at one time in my life, I never thought that we would see this day. I never thought that they would do something so, just asinine to me, when we have old white men, basically, that are making the decisions for millions and millions of women all over this United States, you guys. It's terrible. It is terrible. People were upset that the draft was leaked, both sides, Democrats and Republicans. And there's an investigation going on right now as to who may have been the person to leak it. Not sure if it would be one of the justices themselves, or if it could be, they have law clerks. There's a lot of people that run through the halls of the Supreme Court. Right now, there's an investigation going on. But from what I've been reading and from what I understand, it's looking like they're saying that leaking a draft from the Supreme Court is not against the law. Okay. So I don't know if that person, if they ever do find out who was responsible, I don't even know if that person will be able to, why should they, child, I don't understand why they even doing an investigation, because the damage is already done. People already know, but it doesn't even really matter, because that opinion was going to come out eventually anyway. Within the next few weeks to months, I think that we were going to get a decision from the Supreme Court. And you could look at the justices and say and see where it was going. I think deep down inside, people were still hoping that there would be some humanity in those people that make the ultimate decision, but nothing doing. So we have 5 of the Supreme Court justices that are ready and willing to say that Roe versus Wade needs to be abolished, done away with, and returning it to the states. I am hoping that you guys will be voting in the midterm elections. It's voting time right now, early voting. I think the actual voting day is on the 24th. Is it the 24th or the 20th? I think it's May 24th is the actual voting day. But if you can get it done early and get it out the way, y'all make sure that you do it. It's so important now, because now if they return everything back over to the states, the individual states, well, we already know that there's 25 states, I believe, that are ready to sign on to these abortion bills and pretty much get rid of it. Here in Georgia, for example, we know about the heartbeat law, okay, which basically says that you cannot get an abortion if the heartbeat of the fetus is, or heartbeat of the embryo, I should say, is detectable, which is usually somewhere around 5, 6, 7 weeks, okay? And a lot of the times, women don't even know that they're pregnant at that time. So by the time that they find out that they're pregnant, and may want to make the decision to have an abortion, well, it's already too late. So that's already what's happening here it's not happening in Georgia yet, but because it's held up in appeals courts, I believe, but I know that if the Supreme Court does overturn Roe versus Wade, then all of these states that have just kind of been in limbo when it comes to the abortion, now they're going to have the fuel to go on and just be like, yeah, this is it, sign it into law. And 25 states, like I said, are ready to do that. Ironically, those 25 states are also the same 25 states that are trying to seriously restrict voting rights. So when you just kind of look at the whole picture, we know what it's about. We know who they're targeting. It's just in both cases, when it comes to abortion and when it comes to voting rights, the disenfranchised, the poor, the colored, okay, if you will. A scary time. Have you guys seen that video that's going around of Vice President Kamala Harris, is when she was questioning Brett Kavanaugh when he was about to be put into the Supreme Court, and she asked him, could he think of any law that makes a decision for a man when it comes to their body? And of course, he hemmed and hawed. He didn't want to answer that question, but we can answer it for you. There ain't a motherfucking law around that does anything to any man when it comes to the health of their body. Men are 100% in charge of their body. And now we've given men some sort of percentage over what's done with our body as well. It is ridiculous. But again, this is all about old white men, and not necessarily that old, but white men that are trying to make the decision for women. Take us back into that time. Gilead. You guys watch what the hell is it? What's the name of the damn show, you guys, with the red robes and old girl trying to get out of Gilead, out the country? Anyway, are we trying to take it to those times? I mean, that's why I didn't even watch the last season of that show, because that shit stressed me out, because you feel like it could really happen. And yeah, this kind of shit don't make it no better. We know it's a hot ticket item right now because of the election time. Okay, and it's a shame that abortion rights have been politicized to death. It's a shame. One thing that we can be assured of is there are 25 other states that are not going to sign on to the new abortion laws, and they are going to continue to allow women to have the procedure done there. But that will put a serious strain on these clinics, because people are going to be traveling now to get their abortions done. All right. And that's only if you can afford it. If you can afford the time, if you can afford the money to get the trip done, then you might be one of those ones that can get an abortion. For those who cannot afford it, for those that don't have the access to, cars and flights and being able to get away to the next state, because when you get to a certain part in the United States, it's a big, thick part of it. A lot of the states have decided that they won't be doing it. So you will have, if depending on where you are, you'll have to do some traveling to get to getting this procedure done. It's already happening for some women. I believe a lot of women in Texas that needed to have abortions done, they were going up to Oklahoma to get it done. And like I said, putting a strain on everybody. But these clinics, are trying to remain, dedicated to the rights of women and trying to service everybody. But again, you got half of the country now having to travel to get something done. It's just atrocious. It's a scary time. And yeah, I remember talking about this a while ago, and there was some senator, or there was somebody, I don't even know if I should be saying, because I don't have like the names or anything, but I remember that there was somebody in politics who was all gung-ho about, abolishing abortion rights and all that, and turned out that he had a daughter or a girlfriend, a side chick or something, that he actually had paid to have their abortion done. I think sent them off to a different state and tried to keep it on the hush, but people still found out about it, and that's the part that people need to realize, is those who still want to have it done, they can get it done, but they'll keep that shit on the low. And in front of the camera be acting like they don't want to get an abortion. Y'all, it's it's bad times. It is bad times. And when you think about it, it could be a gateway to them just deciding to make all kind of other changes. And let it just be a sweeping order. The Supreme Court said it, so that's what it is. That's the highest court in the land, right? Okay, so yeah, it's a horrible time. And I'd be afraid for my kids, because I have young kids that are going to be around the ages now that would have to make a decision. I'm telling you, if Jada turned up pregnant right now, child, no. And I'm not saying that I would make her have an abortion, but I feel like everybody should have a choice. That's all we're saying. Nobody is saying that you should rely on abortions when you carelessly go out there and get pregnant. Yes, the world should be much more responsible. Okay, we should all do what we're supposed to do, but the fact of the matter is everybody does not do that. And there are people who have decided that they are not parent material. There are people that have babies that may have medical challenges. There are people that have been raped, incestual. There's so many other reasons why people would choose, or somebody could just flat out not want to have a child. It's not for us to decide whether or not that is morally correct. It's not for us to decide whether that is medically correct. No, and there may be women who put their lives in danger if they have a child, because they may be, they may have health challenges themselves and illnesses themselves, and maybe putting their own life on. I mean, it's so many other things that can happen. And the scary part of it is when you just abolish the law altogether, there's no room for nothing. It's just no, you ain't doing it. And I just believe that people should have that choice. If men had to be the ones to have the baby, we already know that this wouldn't even be a discussion. Men would be able to do whatever the fuck they want to do. But now we've got men who are telling women, y'all already know what it is. All I can say is if and when the Supreme Court does decide to abolish Roe versus Wade, then you need to be very, very active in the decisions that are made when it comes to your local government, the people that run your state, your city. All of that now becomes important, because they're the ones now that are going to make, and it's going to be the governor and the senator. It's going to be those people that make the decisions on whether or not you would be able to have access to an abortion. It's just crazy. Child, we just going back 50 years now, back in time. It's such a setback. It is such a huge setback for women, especially. I mean, I guess maybe they leaked it because they was hoping that the pressure from the public scrutiny would maybe change some of the conservatives' minds. There's been polling that's done, and they say 54% of the country, feel that women should be, 70, I think it was, what was it? Oh, let me not give the numbers. But the majority of the country still believes that abortion laws should be protected, So maybe they were hoping that this pressure would change some minds, because it's still not the final draft, even though we believe that is what they're going to say. So I guess maybe that's the reason why it was leaked. But yeah, it's caused an uproar, many, many discussions. As a matter of fact, you guys know Joe has a podcast. It's a Easy 10K Productions, I think is the name of it. I'm gonna put this podcast up here. I've been talking about him and his podcast on my Instagram stories, or I've been posting his link. But this week they're talking about Roe versus Wade. It's him and his friend that he grew up with. They both went to HBCUs, and now they have a podcast that just gives their opinion on many things, from a perspective of a 23-year-old black, man, who's trying to be in the professional world, but also have, opinions and all of that. So it's a good podcast. Remember, he's 23, so it might be, it's colorful. The language can be colorful sometimes, but they do really well, and they talk about good topics, and I think it's something that you guys might be interested in too. And so if you are, I'm gonna leave the link here. It's gonna be in the description box, and you guys go and follow his podcast too. Okay. And they're talking about Roe versus Wade this week as well. But yeah, you guys, shameless plug for the young man. But yeah, let me know what you think about this. And I would like to actually hear from some people who are anti-abortion. Okay. I would like to know from those people and where you stand, and respectfully, you know, people can disagree or agree. You know, folks ain't got to be cussing folks out. I realize that this is an emotional topic, but yeah, I would like to hear some other perspectives on, you know, why you feel so strongly about abolishing Roe versus Wade, you know, or why you would support that decision. But even if you are pro-choice or whatever, just leave your comments. Let me know what you think about it. Does it concern you as much as it concerns me? It should. All right, you guys, next story up. Child, when I woke up yesterday morning and I opened up my Instagram and I saw some man rushing Dave Chappelle on stage, my stomach dropped. I was like, oh my God. Didn't I tell you guys that this was going to happen? Didn't I tell you guys when we talked about the Oscars and we talked about the infamous slap heard around the world from Will Smith to Chris Brown, Chris Rock? I had a feeling that people were going to copycat and take the liberties and feel like it's okay to get up on stage and attack comedians. You know, comedians have a job to do. And usually people understand what that job is, but in this day and age, you guys, people are so sensitive. People are, you know, everybody wants to be mad at something. I mean, now comedians, well, they shouldn't say that. They're a fucking comedian. It's a comedian. It's a joke. Okay. But the world is a different place than it was even 10 years ago. So it's a tough job for a comedian these days. That's all I'm saying. It's a tough job. Now, Dave Chappelle has been in and out the news recently. You know, he has offended the LGBTQ community. He's upset different races. And in the midst of him being in the middle of all this controversy, he continues to stay true to himself and to his art and to his topics that he talks about, and he continues on. You know, people pressure him and try to, I assume, change his material so that he's not as offensive to certain groups, and he refuses to do it. Okay. He was performing at the Hollywood Bowl in Los Angeles, California. You know, it's a big deal to be at the Hollywood Bowl. He was filming Netflix is a Joke. He had other comedians there also giving material, but I believe he was the main attraction. They said that he was at the end, near the end of his set, and somebody, well, we found out now that it is a 23-year-old young man by the name of Isaiah Lee. Isaiah Lee jumped up onto the stage, rushed Dave Chappelle. They're saying he tackled him, but really he rushed him and pushed him back. So Dave Chappelle, you know, fell back from the force of the man running at him. Supposedly the man had a gun. Well, we thought it was a gun. Turns out that it was a fake gun, but it also had like a knife on the end of the gun, attached to the end of the gun. So supposedly he had pointed that at Dave Chappelle and was charged. I guess he was going to try to stab Dave Chappelle. And the next thing you know, security was up there with the fucking quickness. They was chasing him around. People was all screaming in the audience, you know, watching this whole thing go down. And towards the back of the stage where we saw a screen, there was a screen. We kind of saw, I mean, upwards of 20 people. It had to be around 20 people that have ran on that stage, and they was all huddled around Mr. Lee. Even though we couldn't see swings and kicks and whatever, Dave Chappelle came back out after they was able to detain him, and said that he had just stomped a motherfucker backstage. And I believe 100% that they stomped him because you were running up on stage at a comedy show. Someone like Dave Chappelle, you would expect to have much security around. And even though I'm sure they didn't expect nothing like this, yeah, you was gonna get your ass beaten, honey. When I tell you they beat the fuck out of that man, I mean they beat the hell out of him. When we saw old boy in that damn stretch, I shouldn't laugh. I should laugh. Listen, y'all, I don't want people to get their ass beat. But when you doing clown shit, then you get clown prizes, right? When you run up on stage and try to attack Dave Chappelle, you best believe that he got some good, hard-hitting homies that's going to make sure, okay, that you don't walk away from that unscathed. The child would not tell you. First of all, he probably couldn't walk. Child, if they didn't have his arm turned around, if it didn't look like a bent back paper clip, I was like, when I saw the video, I was looking at it and I was like, what is that? Because it was kind of dark, you know, but they was trying to hurry up and put him in the ambulance. And then I finally went into the comments and somebody was like, is that his arm? And then I was like, that cannot be his arm. I went back and when that motherfucker was all the way forward like this, he was sitting back on the somebody said they took his arm off and put it back on backwards. That motherfucker had a big ass knot. It's pitiful. Okay. It's clear that Isaiah Lee, something can't be right. Something cannot be right when you think that you can do something like this and nothing was going to happen to you. I mean, maybe he had a death wish. Maybe he wanted something to happen to him. But you know, they didn't kill him, but they beat him good enough where he probably wished that he was dead for a little while anyway. Until they could get, you know, pop all of the damn joints back the way they're supposed to go. But I was like, damn, not the bent back paper clip, y'all. Mr. Lee, don't do that. That's all I'm saying is don't do that no more. Now, it turns out that 23-year-old Lee, like I said, we don't know much about him. We think that he could be like a crazed fan type. Apparently, he has a struggling rap career. He's made a song called Dave Chappelle. And so he may have some sort of obsession. We'll hear more about him later. But for right now, all we know is he thought it was a good idea to jump his ass up on stage, and honey, security had to tell him different. We saw Jamie Foxx run up there. Because Dave Chappelle said, anytime you in trouble, Jamie Foxx will show up in a sheriff's hat. Apparently Busta Rhymes was backstage. They said Beyonce and Jay-Z was. I said, y'all doing all this in front of Beyonce? You ought to be fucking ashamed of yourself. But I know that probably brought back memories. Remember when the guy ran up on stage at Beyonce and Jay-Z's when they was closing their they were closing out one of their concerts here. It was here in Atlanta. And somebody jumped on the stage. Now, they didn't beat his ass like this one got done up. But they probably remembered, how it felt, too, to see some shit like this. Like, what the fuck is going on? And they said that Dave Chappelle did finish his set. But they said afterwards he was clearly, bothered by what had happened. Chris Rock was there. Chris Rock actually opened or, performed earlier in the night. And Chris Rock, when all of the melee had just finished, he ran up onto the stage and took the microphone from Dave Chappelle and said, was that Will Smith? Which actually was pretty funny, you guys. Everybody, why you bringing Will Smith? Because he's the fucking reason why these motherfuckers think it's okay now. This the real reaction in the real world when you ain't doing these kind of shenanigans in front of the Oscars and stuff. This is what really happens when you run up on stage and you try to hit somebody, attack somebody. Like I said, Dave Chappelle is fine. Everybody is fine. But the scary part is it could have been something totally different and he could not really be fine. Okay, if that guy would have been able to get the jump on Dave Chappelle, if he would have been able to stab him, we might be talking a totally different story these days. A totally different story. What I do know is that this incident is going to make comedians especially really beef up security around that stage. There's no reason why that man should have been able to jump up on that damn stage. It's a shame that you got to be that way, but honey, you're gonna have to beef up security because motherfuckers think that they can just come up there and stab you and shit and shoot you and slap you and knock you around and all that. We'll see what happens with Mr. Lee. In the meantime, what do you guys think? Are you one of those ones that believe that comedians should have some sort of limit, some sort of limitations to the things that they can and cannot joke about? Are we not able to laugh at some of the things that might even hurt us. Comedians talk about things that are hurtful and try to put a spin on it to laugh about it so that you can get through it. It's a way for you to kind of just feel like, life is not really that horrible, that we can laugh at even our hardships, because trouble don't last always, and when it all passes, you can kind of look back at it and have a good little giggle about it. Or are you just one of those ones that's just like, yeah, no, they need to not say what they say and do what they do? Y'all just let me know what you think, child. Let me know, but let me move on, because we done talked about two things and it's already been 30 minutes and I need to get to work. So next story. All right, you guys, the Met Gala. You guys wanted to talk about the Met Gala. It happened on Monday. And I really, really enjoyed this Met Gala. The last couple of ones that I was just like, I'm not feeling it. Wasn't liking the clothes, anything. But this year, I really did enjoy it. The theme was the Gilded Age. Okay, that can mean a couple of things. The Gilded Age, I believe they said, was a period between 1870 and 1900. So you could dress up in clothes or have some sort of tribute to something that happened during that time, 1870 to 1900s. That was the Gilded Age. Or gilded also could mean gold. Okay, so you took that approach, then you would dress in gold. Many variations of the metal gold. I never really see how these people come up with these decisions and what are the inspirations for some of the outfits. I mean, some people really try to stick to the theme, and then other people just flat out do what the fuck they want to do. Okay, the majority do what they want to do, but then you have some others that are really true to the art of this whole Met Gala ball, and they go all in and they try to stick with the theme. Now, what were my faves? I didn't write down the people that I didn't really like. I didn't even really pay much attention to them. I mean, I can tell you that the Kardashians, Kourtney wasn't feeling it. Kylie wasn't feeling it at all. This big ass, whatever that baseball cap, and I was wrong. And it was like a big cap, and it was like backwards and a net. I was like, girl, what do you have on? You got people be having money and just doing whatever. Kourtney and her husband, or her husband to be, they looked cool, but it wasn't for the gala. Like, I just wasn't feeling that look. Kris Jenner to me looked very matronly, who, she is the mom, but sometimes I like her looks better than others. This was not my favorite. But I thought Kourtney looked beautiful. I'm sorry, Khloe. I thought Khloe Kardashian looked beautiful. I loved the fact that Kim Kardashian had Marilyn Monroe's dress on. As soon as she walked out, I was just like, that girl lost some weight to get in that dress. She looked so thin. Okay, I can imagine what she must look like in person if that's how she looked on TV or in the pictures. But fucking airplanes. I'm sorry, you guys. But I thought that it was dope that she was able to wear that dress. She only wore the dress for the red carpet. They said the dress was auctioned and owned by a collector for like $4.5 million or something like that. So she had the dress on. The security was around her. You could not touch the dress. And as soon as she got through that red carpet, they took that dress off. They put on a replica dress for her, and they shipped that dress off to Hollywood so that it'll be on display there for a little while, and then it'll go back to the collector. But yeah, the dress looked beautiful on her. This is the dress, the infamous dress that Marilyn Monroe sang when she sang, "Happy birthday, Mr. President. Happy birthday to you." Somewhere along the night, Marilyn had got it mixed up and thought that it was okay to sing this lustful filled happy birthday to John F. Kennedy, okay, while his wife and all his people was sitting around. I said, girl, you kind of lost it. You forgot, didn't you? They said that Jackie Kennedy was pissed, and they said that was the beginning of the end for Marilyn Monroe, because people was just like, you just gonna do it right in her face? There was always rumor that Jackie Kennedy Marilyn Monroe and, John F. Kennedy had a little thing. So I was like, girl, you was telling all the business, huh? Marilyn said, excuse me as I pour a little tea. But that dress, that's the dress that we're speaking of. Crystalled out, beautiful. I mean, that dress is like what we wear today. I mean, so ahead of her time. This is back in the 60s and she's pulling some fuck shit like this. And that dress can still stand the time. I mean, the time of the what is the word that I'm thinking of? Y'all know what I'm talking about. Stand the test of time. It was sketched and made by Bob Mackie. I had heard that it was sketched by a John Lewis and then, or Jean-Louis, I should say, and then made by Bob Mackie. But I actually saw an interview with Bob Mackie, and he was talking about how he actually sketched the dress, and then he saw the sketch many, many, many years later. Somebody had it. He was like, I hadn't even seen that sketch in 100 years, and I guess some collector had it. So he did sketch and make the dress, and like I said, it lives on in the annals of history, fashion history, Hollywood history, political history, all of that. That dress was everything. So anyway, definitely she was one of my faves as well. Loved Lizzo. I thought she looked beautiful. Loved Anna Wintour, okay, who, it was understated, but I still loved the look. She looked beautiful. Cardi B, oh my God, just loved that gold dress with all the dazzles and the baubles and things, hanging off, and oh my God, just beautiful. Beautiful. Okay, another one of my faves, Meg Thee Stallion. Oh my God, this up here, it reminded me of the wings from X-Men, the one that had the wings that would sprout out, them things that she had, the damn feathers that she had here reminded me of the X-Men. But anyway, I love the dress. It was like a gold, but like a pewtered, lighter gold. Just loved it. Okay. Who else? I like the way that Lala looked. She had on a burgundy number. I didn't write down any of the designers, so I'm sorry. I just wanted to get through this list because I actually have a lot of people. Teyana Taylor in her that purple and white, almost like tie-dye. Wasn't tie-dye, but it was just all of it was just so much. And the fact that she had on that headpiece. The headpieces were pretty popular. She had on one. Did Lizzo have on one? I don't remember. But I can remember Teyana Taylor's. I thought she was one of my faves. Loved Winnie Harlow. Okay, just something peculiar about this. She just looked like she had on a big flower. But she was the one that also had on another headpiece. Chloe, the singer Chloe. I loved the way she looked. Ariana DeBose. All right, from the West Side Story. Loved her dress. Blake Lively. Now, they did say that her dress was a tribute to the architecture of the time. Okay, so when they unfolded it, I guess it was supposed to show like maybe the shapes of the skyline of the buildings of that time. Her gold and turquoise, very light turquoise dress, or should I say copper and light turquoise dress. Beautiful, beautiful. I love the way that Katy Perry looked. The Wades, okay, that would be Dwayne and Gabby, or Gabrielle Union. I loved the way that they look. It didn't have anything to do with the theme as far as I was concerned, but still loved the look. I loved Gwen Stefani's, her neon green yellow number. I thought it was beautiful. Again, I don't know where that fit in. Kerry Washington and her black, beautiful. Gigi Hadid, loved the look. Vanessa Hudgens, I loved her dress. Gunna. Okay, we can talk about some of the men. Gunna, something about the thorns and shit that was all draped around that, and the way that it was just big, but it still fit very well. He must be a pretty solid young man. He's not real thin, so the clothes definitely was on him, and he just looked really, really nice. Okay, what y'all thought about Future? I was looking at Future, and I was just like, okay. I'm always like kind of on the fence when the men be wearing like shorts, because when I think gala and balls, like I want you to stick to the formality of the gala. But I was kind of feeling Futures. I was kind of feeling it. Y'all, so he was kind of, we don't know. Russell Westbrook was one of the many men that wore skirts. Okay. Not surprising for Russell Westbrook. I mean, he's done things like this before, but I thought he looked nice. We can talk about Sarah Jessica Parker, who is definitely one of those ones who sticks to the themes. This is something that she probably absolutely loves, you know, being able to go to the gala and go into her closet and really pull out something that represents the theme. So like I said, this season or this year, it was the Gilded Age, and she wore a black charcoal elephant and ivory colored silk dress. Okay, it was adorned with Swarovski crystals, and she also was one of the ones that wore a headpiece, but she wore a dress that was inspired by the 1860s ensemble by Elizabeth Hobbs Keckley. Okay, she was a prominent designer from back in that time, a seamstress, and she was a philanthropist, she was a social activist, and she was a black woman. The designer of the dress, I believe, is a black guy. His name is Christopher John Yeah, I think that he is, because he is also, Christopher John Rogers is also the person that did the look for the vice president of the United States at the inauguration in that purple color. Christopher John Rogers was also responsible for that look. So he is definitely getting the work out there. And shout out to him and to Sarah Jessica Parker, making it a point to wear designer, you know, wear the clothes from a designer that has really taken into consideration what the theme was, and then the fact that they were black, just icing on the cake. So yeah, shout out to Sarah for that. Yeah, so that's pretty much it. Those are the ones that I can think of right off the bat that I just really loved. Wasn't really feeling Billie Eilish, Lenny Kravitz. I mean, how can you not love Lenny Kravitz? But child, Lenny had his titties and his little lace shirt here, you know, and then some kind of bodice, and child, it was a whole lot going on. But I mean, you gotta love Lenny, right? And there were others that I just was just like, meh. But those ones that I named, those are the ones that I really love. You guys tell me, what were your good, your bad, and your ugly? Of course, the after parties for the Met Gala, you know, people even take bigger risks or just look, you know, I always like the after party looks. So everybody really looked nice in the after party. I didn't really write down anybody. What I will say though is Wendy Williams, she got dressed up in her after party wear, and she went as the date to blogger Jason Lee, and they went to Cardi B's after party. All right. And she looked cool. I mean, she looked like Wendy. She looked like her old self. You know, she is determined to make a comeback. She said she'll be back in September. You guys come hook a crook. I don't know what show she's going to be on. Maybe it's going to be the Sherry Ann Wendy show. Girl, they done gave your chair away, but Wendy says she's still coming back. So, you know, we'll have to stay tuned to see that. But yeah, she was out with Jason Lee. So good for her. And speaking of Cardi B's party, you guys, y'all want me to talk about the shit that Cardi B saying, how she felt like she was cursed with fame and that she hates being famous. You know, she hates being rich and famous, that if you had a choice, you should just want to be rich and not famous. Well, I do agree with that. Okay, I would love to be rich without having to deal with, the fame. But for her to say that she felt like God cursed her with it, it's just sort of like, yeah, I mean, you can say that now because you're where you want to be. You know, when I say that, I mean financially and in her career. You know, she's successful in her career. So now she can say things like that. But I bet you back when she was not Cardi B, the rap artist, the A-list rap artist that all the designers want to dress and all of that, when before she was, the person that she is today, she would have loved, this is where you wanted to be. This is what you was striving for. You know, this is the reason why you made the decisions that you made in your career. You know, now it comes with the bullshit. And really, Cardi B is to the point where she doesn't have to interact. She doesn't have to be on social media. She doesn't have to be allowing trolls to get her dander up. She doesn't have to be arguing back and forth with these people. She can be ghost and still be successful, because that's the kind of fans that she has. You know, she chooses to interact with the people on the internet, but really you don't have to. Girl, I'm about to sweat the fuck to death in this car. Shit, every time I open the damn door, an airplane is flying by. But it's hot as fuck in this car. And I forgot to tell you guys what happened. So at her after party, you know, she was telling the people, thank you for coming. And she was telling them, make sure that you have your alcohol. And then she said, I don't even know what she said. I tried to watch it about 50 times. I could not figure out what she was saying, but I assume that she was saying something along the lines of, y'all make sure that you also have your cocaine, okay, your nose candy or whatever you sniffing or taking around here. Y'all make sure you have that too. Okay. Well, of course, she got some blowback from that. People was upset. They said she was promoting drug use and blah, 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 blah. And she came on and said that she, you know, was tired of people and how people just really make her job hard. And I just was like, well, Cardi, I don't feel sorry for you, because I bet you wouldn't trade places with where you were even 10 years ago, you know? Like, it comes with it. And like I said, you don't have to deal with it. You don't have to be out there with those people. And you guys know Cardi is my girl. Like, I like Cardi. But, you know, when you hear something silly like that, you just gotta say what it is. You wanted to be rich. You wanted to be famous. God gave it to you. He did not curse you with fame. What you do with the fame is up to you. God says, I provided for you, and now you're supposed to make the best decisions for you within that provision. Okay, so child, I can't. I'm gonna move on. But y'all tell me what you felt about the Met Gala, the after party. Give me, like I said, your good, your bad, your ugly.